Shall I lean a bit closer? Okay, hopefully you can hear me, let me know if you can't. Does that work? Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a real pleasure to be here, and it's very inspiring to be with you all, so yeah, thank you so much. I am here to talk about the National Education Nature Park. As Vicky said, I work for the Royal Horticultural Society, but the National Education Nature Park is a massive partnership programme. As you can see, our comms team has sort of struggled to fit everybody's logos onto this page here. It is commissioned by the Department for Education, and it's led by the Natural History Museum, and in partnership with the RHS, working with ESRI UK, and lots of other brilliant partners, including, as you can see there, Learning Through Landscapes, the Royal Geographical Society, Royal Society. So there are loads and loads and loads of different partners involved in this programme. And crucially, it's part of the Department for Education's Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy. So as you may know, schools are expected to be starting to put together climate action plans, and this is sort of part of that work that's happening in schools at the moment. I am the Programme Officer for London, and I should also say a big thank you to the Mayor of London, the London team, which includes me and my colleague Tom, who works at the Natural History Museum. We are supported by a community science rewilding grant from the Mayor of London. So, a bit of background on our programme. Just out of interest, hands up if you've heard about the National Education Nature Park before. Hey, that's some hands, that's great, I'm happy to hear that. Apologies if I'm about to bore you with it all over again, but for those who don't know, as we've sort of had some context already, we know that we are living in one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world, and we need to address a STEM skills shortage in young people. We want to inspire them with positivity and interest around nature. We know the significant kind of well-being benefits that accessing green space, being outside, getting in nature involved. There are all kinds of brilliant reasons why we might want to be doing things to boost biodiversity and get young people learning about nature. The sort of programme arose from the Department for Education thinking about the educational estate, so our school grounds and our school sites across this country. If we add up England's primary and secondary schools alone, we're making an area of land which is roughly twice the size of Birmingham, so that's enormous. And the sort of name for this programme comes from the idea of, what if we were to imagine all of those school sites as one connected nature park? How might we think differently? What might we do differently? How might we be able to support our young people to love and enjoy and support nature on those sites if it was all one big nature park? So, it's a free programme, and I would love it if I could give you some homework today to go away and speak to anybody you know who goes to a school or works at a school or bang on the door of your local school, whatever that might be. We would love to get everybody signed up. At the moment, because education is devolved, this is just the programme happening in England, but who knows where we might go, whether we might take over the world in the future. Any nursery, school or college can sign up, so all the way through that school system, and we would love to see as many schools as possible doing so. As I said, I'm sort of responsible for London, thinking about London schools, but if you have contacts in other parts of the country, we have regional teams working in all of those different regions, so their support in different areas, and I can talk to you about that later if you're interested. One of the kind of main areas of the programme is getting young people outdoors and thinking about outdoor learning, inquiry-led learning, and boosting biodiversity. So our overall aim is to empower every young person in England to take action to make a positive difference to their future and nature's future by developing connections to nature, understanding the threats it's facing, and crucially feeling able to do something about it. We know how worrying kind of eco-anxiety can be amongst young people. The hope of this programme is that we can encourage young people that they can do something about it, they can take action, they can be agents in that change. And the sort of goals of that programme include biodiversity gain across the education estate. We want our school sites to be more green and biodiverse. We want to develop green skills in young people and support them to exhibit pro-environmental behaviours, and also improve well-being. And it says young people there, but that's kind of across the school system, you know, teachers, communities that surround schools, everybody really. Just a little background there into what we're talking about when we think about green skills for young people that are going to be so crucial as our workplaces, you know, change, and the jobs that are going to be needed to make this country more green multiply. We want to be thinking with young people about identification and ecology, recording data, interpreting data. We've already had so many conversations today that revolve around data. How are we supporting through our maths lessons and all these other things young people to think about that environmental data they're gathering, creative thinking and decision making, horticulture, environmental stewardship, communication, all of these things. Hopefully the programme supports them to do that. So, what does it involve? Schools register on our website, and they can guide themselves kind of through this process, but the regional officers are also there to support them with questions they might have, and we run sort of peer-to-peer learning sessions and networks and skill sharing sessions. But essentially the programme is built on a 5-step cycle, which starts with young people getting outside on their school grounds and exploring their space. And you might be thinking, we're all here to talk about London, and London schools aren't full of lovely grassland and brilliant kind of biodiverse opportunities for young people to get outside. They're often mainly concrete. What can they do? There's loads and loads that they can do, and we'll come on to talk about that. But crucially, you've got to start by getting to understand what's on your school site, getting outside and exploring it. And we have a whole range of resources, lesson plans, and activities that young people can get outside and start doing that. And then identify opportunities for change. So starting to think about what they might like to see, what's not growing there, well, what could be, what's not living there or visiting their school grounds, well, what could be. And then making decisions, you know, working with staff across the school, thinking about what's appropriate, what's realistic, what's going to work best. That kind of whole school approach that brings in staff, you know, maintenance teams, leadership, teaching staff, everybody to think about making those decisions, and then making some kind of change. So schools are designing, implementing an intervention on their site that's going to boost biodiversity, and then recording that change. And the idea of the cycle is that it's a continuous process, so they can keep going around that cycle and bringing in new interventions and ideas, and recording that change as they go along. I should add that the Department for Education offers grants as part of this programme to schools. There is a determined list of schools that has been drawn up by the Department for Education, and they have the opportunity to receive a grant to help with that capital work that's happening on their site to make these changes. If you're interested in that list, do have a chat with me. It's on the government website. You can see which schools are eligible, and we are expecting some changes to that list in the coming days / weeks, so do keep an eye on updates to that website if you're interested. So it begins with Esri, as I mentioned, are one of the partners in this programme. And the schools have free access. Any school that signs up has free access to GIS software to start mapping their site and their grounds and understanding it, and adding it to our national database, which is all being sort of monitored by scientists at the Natural History Museum. So all of this data is becoming part of a national map that we can use to understand school grounds better, because actually we don't know that much about what's living there, what's growing there, what's happening. So it begins with a school mapping their site boundary, and then once they've done that, they become a lovely green glowing dot on this beautiful map. And this is on our website, so if you want to have a look, just head to our webpage and you can zoom in and you can see all of the schools in your local area, so do start to have a look at who's signed up and registered. And yeah, they start to see themselves as part of this network for change. There is this kind of collective action, which is very exciting. And then they begin to map the habitats that they have on their school grounds. So you can see here some beautiful examples of habitat mapping that's happening. And ideally and brilliantly, in a lot of schools, that's being led by the young people. So we don't want this to be an activity that the teacher does on their own in the classroom. This is part of integrating it into lesson time, hopefully, to work with your young people to develop those skills, mapping your school grounds, getting outside. And we have lots of sort of scaffolding activities that will get students to that point of being able to add to these maps. And then we have a mapping your change tool. So they create a sort of baseline so that they understand the point that they're starting from. And then when they start to design these interventions and these changes that they want to make, they get added to their map, and then you can toggle across quite nicely, as you can see here, and see where you began and then where you've got to and what changes happened, which is really exciting. And as part of this process as well, they are invited to take part in surveys on their site. So we had a pollinator survey that was live earlier this year. Our programme is 1 year old. It began in October last year, so there is more to come. We're kind of in our infancy, and there will be more surveys, there will be more exciting things happening, but we are hoping to gather lots and lots of data about what's happening on these school grounds, and then use that, the scientists at the museum will use that to model and predict and think about how we can hopefully influence, policy and think about what we need to do to help support our school sites to be more green and biodiverse. So, particularly thinking about London, but thinking generally, the focus of year one of the project was grey to green interventions. So how can we change that built environment, those concrete playgrounds? How can we help to make them more green? What kinds of interventions can boost biodiversity on our school sites? So there's guidance, there's support, there are kind of planting ideas, there's all kinds of things. Do take a look at the website. There's a beautiful, almost like top trumps pack, which gives you some options of intervention ideas you might want to make and kind of ranks them, which ones are more cost effective, which ones might support this area better or this one. But we started thinking about pools of water, waves of grass, flowers, trees, green walls, lots of really amazing things happening in schools to do with that, and how schools are collecting rainwater, etc. And we've got some really exciting new guidance that's come out around grasses, thinking about mowing patterns in schools, all kinds of different things that they have support with, trying to change on their site. And as I mentioned, that green glowing map is collecting real scientific data. So this is a citizen science programme. Young people are the scientists gathering data in their schools, making observations that are impacting and making real change across the education landscape. And you can see some examples there of schools that were involved. So, just going to move forward through that. We recently released our annual report, so you can take a look at that on our website if you'd like to, and started to do some counting up of all of the different types of area that have been mapped. We're encouraging and supporting schools to do that, so we offer CPD for teachers to help support them with that mapping process if there's confidence needed in those digital skills. And I'll zoom through, but you can take a look at my slides later and also look at our annual report and see everything that's on there. We've been mapping all sorts of exciting microhabitats, areas, and gathering all of this data. In London at the moment, we have 346 schools registered, which is really exciting. That's about 12.7% of all secondary schools in London and 11.5% of all London primaries. And we've got loads of educators registered, so you can have more than one educator per school that's signed up. I just thought I'd show you some examples of exciting and fun things that schools have been doing as part of their nature park process here. I am reasonably new. I only began my role in London, supporting London in the summer, and so I don't have loads of London examples yet because we hit the summer holidays and all of their brilliant things are kind of happening now. So I hopefully can come back another time and show you lots of London pictures. From around the country, here are some brilliant ponds, green roofs, wildlife cameras that have been installed, a lovely example here of grey to green that's happened on a school site, and all kinds of improvements and differences that are being made. And I think, yeah, just wanted to show you how that feeds into a climate action plan. Biodiversity is a key pillar of that plan, and this programme obviously feeds into that very specifically, but we also think that it helps support the other 3 pillars of a school's expected climate action plan. We have resources designed across the curriculum, from art and designs, English literature to science and geography, that help support the young people to learn about climate education. And this programme will also support with that sort of crucial decarbonisation work that's happening in schools. How are their grounds adapting and becoming more resilient? I think that's my time for questions. I'm here all day. If you want to drop me an email, I'd love to hear from you. I would love to speak to you about the programme, get as many schools registered as possible, answer any questions you might have. But yeah, thank you so much for listening.